Welcome back, everyone, to the Pommy and Oz channel. We're diving today deep into off-season contracts, specifically Tom De Koning at Carlton Football Club, as Fox Footy today have ran one of their clickbaity articles that he may be thinking about leaving the Blues. So what we're going to do today is delve into what was said, what is likely, the significance to the football club, and also potential destinations, and then a brief synopsis of what I think will happen. So let's run that intro and let's get straight into it.
To AFL, Tom De Koning could be the most sought-after free agent when the 2025 season comes to an end, but the Blues ruckman is keeping everyone on their toes. The 25-year-old opted to sign a 2-year extension rather than a long-term deal back in 2023, a decision that may just pay dividends for the up-and-comer. The soon-to-be free agent will no doubt be at the top of some big competitors' hit lists, and their offers may be too much for the Blues to compete with.
Tom De Koning has really been a big riser in the last 2 years, particularly under Michael Voss. Carlton are a staggering 66% win rate when TDK is in the side, as opposed to 36 without him. And why is that? He's played 78 games for Carlton, and his career win record is 54.5%, which is quite staggering when you think of how poor Carlton were when Tom came into the side. But what happens when Tom De Koning isn't on the field? Why do Carlton lose? And that really is a question for looking deeper into what Tom does. If you look at him throughout the year and throughout the seasons, particularly last year, Tom was phenomenal. He ranked 5th in player ratings. He ranked 7th in disposals, 9th in contested possessions. But the big ones here, loose ball gets after a clearance, he was 3rd. He was 8th in ground balls and 2nd in score involvements. Tom is that modern-day ruckman who really shows what Carlton have been building in their midfield. As a side that is considered traditionally one of the most one-dimensional, flat-paced midfields, Tom acts as that taller midfielder. And although he isn't a traditional modern-day tap ruckman, he is the hybrid modern ruckman who adds something. And he also adds something around the ground. His work rate up and down the wings, his work rate about helping defence, shows that there's no surprise that Carlton's biggest and most significant improvement in the Vossi years has there been turnover differential, where Carlton are a staggering plus 25 points from turnover differential with Tom in the side versus negative 5.3 when he isn't in the side. And the reason being there is he is always an outlet. He's a massive, almost like swing man who is a midfielder. And it shows that Tom doesn't only control the ruck, but he also has a bigger influence on the broader team's performance, helping Carlton capitalise on turnovers, but also maintaining possession in and around the ball where they get a little bit too handsy. Last year was definitely a breakout for Tom De Koning, and his growth trajectory does really showcase that although he's already ranked inside the top 10 ruckmen in the competition, he potentially could be a top 3, even the most best ruckman when it comes for Gawn and Co to retire. He's incredibly mobile, he's incredibly athletic, but his work rate to bring players in and around the ground shouldn't be understated. His development really does mirror the evolution of the best ruckman in the comp, and it's showcased last year when Carlton brought him on as a sub in the elimination final. Carlton absolutely changed their dynamic with fast-paced football, but also being really dangerous around stoppage and clearance, and having a big point of difference in what felt like a very stodgy midfield. So as we look ahead, obviously, he's a restricted free agent. And as we know in the AFL, restricted free agent basically means it's like going to your dad for a little bit of a loan to help you pay rent. It means that the AFL will consider that his age, his contract value, all that malarkey, and give you a compensation pick should he choose to move. Now, there is no prerequisite for multiple picks. We've seen many players leave and really waiting for the clarification of these rules. Us looking for some clarity in what the AFL do with these rules is a little bit like someone old like me waiting for them to remake an 80s film in 2025 that is half decent and not rubbish. it's not going to happen. So we know that even if we look at it at best case scenario, let's say like the Josh Battle, it was a top 10 pick. We know should Tom move, it's probably going to be a top 5 pick, as opposed to if he was on the free market, you'd definitely be looking at multiple firsts. We know good ruckmen are as rare as rocking horse poo. So obviously he's going to be sought after. But let's look at this evidence of teams that are going to throw money at him. Geelong definitely going to throw money at him. We know you can make the jokes about Cotton On and whatever. They seem to have an indefinite salary cap. And there is also this little detail about Tom De Koning plays for Geelong. Do I buy into that? I don't really buy into this brothers want to play with brothers. I think they're full-grown men. I think that they want to do their own thing. I think it may influence it in the slightest, but I don't think it has a huge bearing on the issue, because from Tom's point of view, this is about money if he does want to leave. So Geelong can probably offer it. St Kilda can probably offer it. Collingwood may have a flirtation. Essendon may have a flirtation. I'd imagine there would be 17 other clubs wanting to get a ruckman, just because we know that the ability to replace a player like Tom is so hard to do in the current day market. And history would suggest that when ruckmen leave, they leave for a higher premium than a player of a different position, purely because of that. When you look at Carlton, how can Carlton afford him? You look at them next year, and Carlton have got a staggering amount of players who are out of contract. And when you look at the players that are out of contract, they're very, very interesting in the terms of salary cap building. You've got Adam Cherry, you've got Adam Sard. There's also the up in the air of Brodie Kemp. You've also got George Hewitt. You've got Jesse Motlop, Mitch McGovern, Jack Silvani, and Sam Doherty on the list, who are players that will probably be played a decent amount. When you also take into account that there is also a plethora of other players, Carlton have got a lot of players out of contract. So contract movability should be quite easy. It also needs to be said that Nick Austin has been quite adamant about re-signing the talent. So I would imagine that Carlton, when they look at Tom De Koning, he is a priority signing. Now, when we look at what Tom De Koning said, which was this...
yeah, look, that'll be between my manager and the club, but my main focus is just focusing on my role for the team and listening to what Vossi and the coaches have to say for me, and focusing on that, and the rest will take care of itself when it happens.
What about playing with your brother? Is that something that you'd like to do one day? Or?
Oh, not while he's at a different club, that's for sure. But yeah, no, it's look, maybe one day down the track when we finish footy, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I think he's enjoying his footy as well, so yeah.
It's really hard to buy in and read what these players mean when they say what they say. They are heavily media trained, and I think it would be a foolish exercise for us to guess. But my prediction is, when you look at the stats and you look at the raw data, Carlton's midfield has been built with Tom De Koning in mind. It's why they have focused on them bigger-bodied players, and then they went with high aerobic capacity, and now they're looking to add a little bit of an element of speed and a point of difference, and that suits a Tom De Koning. That's not downplaying what Mark Pitternet does, but Mark Pitternet is a more archaic ruckman, and it is also obvious, not only in the stats, but also by the eye, that Carlton become a lot more slower and a lot more robust when Mark Pitternet is in there, as opposed to the more dynamic flair that you get from Tom De Koning. In synopsis then, I really do think that Tom De Koning stays. I think he'll be heavily sought after. For me, he's probably in the top 3 of the most important players from a structural point of view in what Carlton are trying to build. Obviously, he suits just about every football club in the AFL, and most clubs are going to bite the bullet and try and offer it. But in this case, when I look at the current market, I look at the draft class next year, I look at the players available that you could maybe bring in as a stopgap to replace him, I don't think Carlton will even entertain the idea of him going, and I think Carlton will have to pay through the nose for him. What that looks like, I don't know, but he's definitely worth $1 million footballer. Tom De Koning has a lifetime of football to go as a ruckman. Definitely another minimum of 8 years for him. And I feel like when you look at the replacements we've got, Hudson O'Keefe, still a bit up in the air. Mark Pitternet, we've tried it. It doesn't quite work. I'm open to a dual ruck system, but I think Tom De Koning has to be the main man. Hudson's not ready. Jack Silvani, I think that experiment's gone. And I think when you look at last year, Carlton were really actively using Harry, Lewis Young, players like that to back up TDK. I think moving forward, Mark Pitternet is always going to be the backup should we need someone like that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from opposition fans. I'm well aware that Carlton fans will want to keep him. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check some of the other footage out on the channels. And peace, love and light. Pommy out.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.